Nobody wants to get low grades in their schoolwork, but for some people, achieving higher is easier said than done. What if there was a way in which even the most struggling school student could achieve higher grades? I was one of the ones who struggled in class, and I was someone who kept on getting low grades, and this was because I found reading, writing, and listening particularly difficult. And of course, most of schoolwork was presented to me in a way that heavily relied on the ability to read, write, and listen well, be that the worksheets, the textbooks, writing notes off the board, and all else. And as you can imagine, I spent a lot of my early school life being at the bottom of the class, frequently going into daydreams, staring out of the window, annoying the teacher, and also being considered as stupid by a lot of the people around me. Now, when I was around 12 years old, I was diagnosed with dyslexia, and this was actually a relief. It was a weight off my shoulders because it meant I wasn't stupid. In fact, it turned out my intelligence was above average, and all it was I had a difficulty with processing information from text. And this was the same when it came to listening as well, trying to keep up with the teacher while also understand what the teacher was saying. And thankfully, I had very supportive parents and a very supportive school, and I was given extra time in exams, as well as lots of other support and various techniques. But despite the great support, nothing quite helped enough. I was still getting low grades, and I was still finding schoolwork more difficult than most of my other peers. In fact, I was starting to get some unwanted attention from my peers as being the stupid kid, and the one who always got things wrong, and the one who was always getting low grades. And this had a big knock on my self-esteem. So I really wanted to change this, and when it came to exams, I put extra hours and effort into the studies. I was working into the weekend, I was working into the night, and I had friends who I knew weren't doing this, and yet they seemed to be getting better grades than me by default. They were getting A's and B's, and here I was, despite my hard work, still getting D's and C's, and still struggling with what felt like the basics of reading. Eventually, I got fed up with putting in all this hard work just for a disappointing result. And so, when it came to my final year of exams, before my studies, I thought to myself, if I'm going to fail anyway, I might as well enjoy it. And all I meant by that was, I can't control what grade I'm going to get, it seems, but I can control how much I enjoy the studies. I was a lifelong comic fan, and I knew that I'd never found it difficult to read and remember information through a comic. In fact, I very much enjoyed it. So as an experiment, I turned a page of my study notes into a comic strip, and I focused on making it entertaining first, so that even if it didn't work as a study technique, I would still have a good time making and reading it. To my surprise, these were not just more fun to make than the usual way, but they were much easier to read and remember information this way. In other words, it felt more like remembering what happened in a Simpsons episode than it did remembering what happened in a worksheet or a textbook. And this was really exciting to me. I made more of my study notes into comic strips, and all the while I thought I was going to fail because no one had told me this was an okay way to study, but I didn't care because this, for the first time, felt like the information was going in as naturally as I assumed it did for other people, and at least I would be failing on my own terms. But as it turned out, I got an A. One of the highest grades you could get. It was the first day I'd ever gotten in an exam that had nothing to do with the arts. It was modern studies, and so it was a very wordy subject, and yet here I was getting a grade that was on par with, if not better than, a lot of the high flyers in my class who I thought were always going to be doing better than me and I could never dream to achieve on their level. And it was the same information that everyone else had studied for their exam. The only thing I'd done differently was that I had studied for the exam in a way that made much better sense to me and was more naturally engaging to me. And so, what I want to say to you today is if you have a child who's going through their exams, or if you have a child who's younger, but maybe you're worried about how they're performing at school, then look to what they enjoy. Look to their entertainment. Look to what they choose to do in their spare time. And I dare you to look at that as the solution instead of the distraction, because you can utilize that into their study schools. I know it sounds simple, but that is the beauty of it. It's not rocket science. What they enjoy is a big part of who they are, and that's why it's so powerful. If they can learn in a way that they love, then they can use that to overcome any obstacle that school life may throw at them. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I hope it was helpful to you or someone you know. And if you'd like to find out more about the work that I do, I now get to work with a team of talented people who help turn my study technique into a resource for other people at school. This is Dekko Comics, and it turns the school curriculum, subjects like maths and English and all the rest, into entertaining comic strips that focus on being entertaining before educational. And that is to make it more accessible and engaging to a wider variety of learners. In fact, we've had children with dyslexia, autism, and ADHD all find this extremely useful, but also children who are just bored at school and are looking for a more stimulating way to learn. If you'd like to find out more, please visit our website dekkocomics.com or follow us on our official Dekko Comics Facebook page. Thank you again, and I wish your children good luck and a good time in their studies.